Good morning. Yeah, 6 minutes. Good morning, WTU. This is just a very quick impromptu live feed update. I just do them as and when I get the opportunity nowadays, so I won't call them weekly updates anymore. So yeah, I'm off daddy duties till Wednesday, so I thought I'd have a quick go. So I can happily confirm now that if any of you may remember, the initial solicitor firm that I secured to represent WTU, Robert Jappy left that firm and went to another firm. As a result, we stayed with that firm for a while, but then we decided as a community to follow Robert to his new firm, Ince. Unfortunately for us, then the initial firm decided to try and give us a final charge before letting us go, basically of about £13,000 or something, I think £1,300. But anyway, we disputed that, challenged and complained against the decision to charge the WTU community this final fee, and I'm happy to say that Mackerel Turner Garrett have gone on the side of compassion and understanding and have waived this final fee to the WTU community on the basis of our charitable purpose and nature, and also the fact that many of us are quite vulnerable, sick and disabled, and most of that money was put in by poor people. So thankfully they've seen the light in that aspect, so we won't have to have that bill. They have also sent over all of the information that I'd already sent to Robert at that firm, that other solicitors were then holding over to Robert in his new firm. So Robert now has the folder, that everything that he should have had from Mackerel Turner Garrett. So all that now has fallen into place and has finally progressed. It's taken about 4 months or more. I think all that started just before this lockdown occurred. So I can happily confirm now it's all officially transferred. What we now need to do is to rewrite the Crowd Justice page, because that is actually tied to the Mackerel Turner Garrett firm. It's been paused and closed for a long time anyway, so it hasn't been accepting donations for a while now. But now that it's all transferred and confirmed, I will now have to rewrite the Crowd Justice Fundraiser page for the Stage 2, which will then be tied to the new firm, Ince, where Robert is now working pro bono for the WTU community. So that's what I'm going to be doing this next couple of days. In addition to that, we've had the thumbs up on the preliminary evidence bundle that I've collated so far with the help of Paul Sparey. She's been very occupied lately, as have I, with many things, health and whatever else. So we're hoping to connect tomorrow and Tuesday to get on and do a little bit more and try and finalise this document, which Robert will then adapt into a more legal style, because I write for academic purposes, not for legal purposes. So that is all happening still. It's literally every few days I have a couple of days opportunity, so I normally have a day of rest and a day of activity. I've actually already been quite busy this morning helping other documents for other causes. So we will soon, thanks to the input and the feedback from the community group. Those of you remember I wrote into the group the other day and asked, because the barrister has got quite a lot to read, they obviously wanted more money. So because they're asking for £1,800, that's their fee plus VAT, I was then asking the community if we should just take this from the merchandise fund, which I think is £2,500, and just pay for the fees directly from there, or start the Crowd Justice Fundraiser again. The general consensus seemed to be pay the fees from the merchandise funds that we've accrued so far, and to restart the Crowd Justice Fundraiser page, ready basically for when the barrister comes back with their advice and the way forward. There were some very important questions raised. I can't see them on my screen, which I did put the answers from Robert in that thread on that last video update. So if you haven't seen that, I would encourage you to go through all these video updates of my ugly mug, and you'll get all the information that you may need. So I'm just seeing a question there. No, okay, so someone here was just asking, and they have now waived the final fees. Yeah, that's, just to be clear, that was the initial firm that we contracted to represent the WTU community. Quite some time ago now, Robert left that firm to work for another firm, and we continued being represented by Mackerel Turner Garrett for around 3 or 4 months, I think. But then, for many reasons, after feedback from the community, we decided to separate from Mackerel Turner Garrett and to follow Robert at his new firm Ince, because we felt he had the real bite for the case. And the Mackerel Turner Garrett issued, I think it was £1,367 that they were asking for. The invoices are in the files tab of the group, so feel free to go in and have a look, it's all there. So that was the fee of which I was specifically referring to in this post. So Mackerel Turner Garrett have waivered this final fee that they were asking for the services they had supported so far. The barrister fee, which was discussed in the group the other day, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was a £1,500 fee plus VAT, which came to £1,800. I think the details are in the post. That is the human rights barrister fee, so that's a separate fee to Mackerel Turner Garrett. It's a separate thing entirely. The human rights barrister initially was on retainer. They'd asked for three pieces of information more from the WTU community, but it's not quite adequate, the information that they're asking for, to actually prove the case, we don't feel. So we seek to provide more to thoroughly, because when I spoke with this barrister and I said to them, cannabis is potentially the most therapeutic and nutritious herb on the planet, they looked at me like I was a madman, because so far as the barrister is concerned, cannabis is a Schedule 1 drug that deserves Class B sentencing. So on that basis, the barrister believes the government mindset. The barrister is of the conditioned mindset. So our role, I believe, is to share with them the information that we have had and to bring them round to the correct mindset of what cannabis actually is, the actual foundation of the law, and how damaging and how wrongly it's been applied. So if we can actually get the barrister to have our way of thinking from the information that we've had, they will be coming on a much more positive fight. So that was the concept, really, of putting this bundle of information together, that not just what I've read, what other people have read, and to bring it all together to actually make a cohesive and compelling argument against what the government says. Now, if you look at our Home Office response, which again is in the Files tab, that ultimately is what we are challenging in court. So go into the Files tab, have a look at the Home Office response to the WTU open letter. That's what we're challenging in court. So we are building the evidence case against the details contained in that letter. So to kind of summarise quickly that again, the Mackerel Turner Garrett firm was the first firm we were with. For professional reasons and career reasons, Robert left and went to Ince. We have now followed. That firm has now waived their fees and have passed over all of the documentation that I had sent them previously. So Robert now has everything again and what I'm putting together to send to him. And the fee will be for the human rights barrister, who they had £6,000 initially, I think. And again, if you go through the Files tab, you'll find all the invoicing there. There was only about £1,700 left in the kitty. I don't actually know the figures specifically, but there wasn't a lot of money left in terms of barrister reading time left. So that is why now Robert's been back in touch with the barrister, spoken with the barrister's clerk has come back and said that we need this bit of extra fundraising. The community in general think we should pay for this from the funds, which I also think the same. There's no sense waiting, let's just get it done. And also everyone else suggested let's just get the fundraiser opened up, which I like that. That's really taken on the positive belief that the barrister is going to come back in our favour, make the declaration of incompatibility so that we can move forward with the government. I'm hoping that has answered that question there. Right. So in addition to this research bundle, we have the WTU survey results that we intend to collate and condense for the barrister, which again is just more evidence. And then also we are adding your voice. So for anyone in the community that wants to add their voice to the case about the effect cannabis has had, or the effect of cannabis and its prohibition has had on your life. Now that is open, that's broad as can be. WTU has never been a medical cannabis thing, because there's no such thing as medical cannabis. You've got cannabis for medical purposes or recreational purposes, but cannabis is cannabis, and we're just fighting for the human right here to be free to choose, to have the right to our private life respected, to have our freedom of consciousness respected by law. That's what the WTU has always been about. So, don't think, oh, I'm not medical, I can't write about it. It's got nothing to do with medical at all. That is just an aside. The fact that I happen to be crippled by a pain condition is just a coincidence. It's the freedom of consciousness and the right to a private life and the autonomy of health and self-determination of the development of our personality. That is which we fight for. And so long as we aren't harming another person in our actions, the law shouldn't interfere in our lives. Currently, the law is wrongly applied and it interferes in our lives, even though we are not causing harm to others. So that's what we're trying to assert in law. We will have this declaration of incompatibility. That's the way we're anticipating to move forward, to say that the Human Rights Act and the Misuse of Drugs Act are not compatible. And then we will have to investigate to remove this incompatibility. Well, first of all, they'll want to confirm if there is one, and then if they agree there is one, then how to remove it. In the meantime, so I'm just trying to remember what I've already written up there. So please go to the website, the www.wtuhq.org/testimonials, and add your voice, okay? A lot of people have said, oh, we couldn't contribute to the campaign because we were too poor, which, being poor, I completely and utterly empathise with that, right? It doesn't cost anything to put your voice in. You can do it anonymously. You can do it with a blag email. It doesn't matter, right? Just please add your voice. It's your chance to have a voice against this policy. Okay, I'm just trying to think what else is in there for the update. Also, we have in the discussions tab, WTU solutions. In essence, it's all very well and good us saying the law is wrong, but we need to offer solutions and suggest ways to rectify it. So Robert would also like, when we send this to the barrister, that we also have in there what we want. You know, our peace demands, if you will. They are at war on our way of life, so let's make our peace demands at the bottom of the bundle, at the end of the bundle. So if you will have a look in the group, you'll see there is a discussion thing. I've put WTU solutions, if I remember correctly. If you can go there and have a read, express your opinion, what your ideal version of reform might be, then I intend to basically hammer through that and condense it and try and put through, these were Robert's words more than mine, realistic and achievable solutions. That's open to debate, discussion, interpretation. So if we could have more input from there, that would be great. And then we will also include that. And that brings me to, I think, Paul Sparey. Paul Sparey has come up with what I think is a great idea of WTU coffee mornings. Wake and bake, if you like. It doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be the afternoon or the evening. His idea initially, aside from making money for the WTU community, his original idea was to try and connect with people in local areas. So, you know, if you look at the statistics on the Facebook page, there's a lot of people in Swindon and Wiltshire, apparently, that are in our group, but I don't know any of them. I don't connect with any of them. We all see each other and maybe chat, but it would be good to start consolidating our groups locally. And then they can become empowered as a community through knowledge on how they can move forward. So the idea of Paul really was to have coffee mornings where people could come, share a space, share tea, share coffee, share cake, share whatever herbal preparations that they prefer to bring with them. So it wouldn't be a selling and sharing and exchange of anything like that. A token gesture of, I think, £5 to get in for your tea and your cake and your coffee. But that isn't mandatory, because then it's financially exclusive. So if you can't afford it, you can still come in, or if you can only put 50p in or £1, that's all you put in. So it isn't kind of a set in stone fixed fee. And his idea is to try and bring people together so they can share their knowledge, their experiences, and strengthen their community and build a local group at the same time as generating funds for the WTU campaign. So they have very bravely, they being the Spareys, decided to host the first coffee morning on the 12th of September at their home, which I can't remember the town off the top of my head, and have been asked and invited to go along and share a personal experience. I said I'd happily talk about anything. I did give a list of suggestions, and it seems Paul would be interested to hear me talk about my connecting with the higher force of the universe experience, all induced through cannabis. So if anyone else wants to hear that, let Paul know. If anyone hear anything else, I have like 90% success rate on my germination, probably 95%. Very rare I have a failure on my germination, for example. Germination techniques, I don't know, propagation, cutting, whatever. I'm up for talking about anything. So yeah, I'll be there with Paul. Hopefully some people in the local area to Paul or thereabouts might take the time to come and join us. Once I've submitted this bundle to Robert, I'll also be organising and hosting my own WTU coffee morning. Well, it won't be the morning because my body doesn't work in the morning. It'll be a coffee afternoon. But I intend to host a similar one at my own home as well, which makes me acutely aware of the vulnerability, I suppose, that it puts people in by doing such a thing. So maybe other areas, it could be out, a picnic on the green. You don't have to be in your home. Most towns have a common green where folks can go and gather for a picnic. You could just arrange to do that. So you don't have to necessarily open up your private sanctuary and home to host these coffee mornings. It could literally be a WTU picnic. So those are just some suggestions. I think any other suggestions we have for fundraising would be great. Alan Buffrey has been doing some great work. He has compiled the second collection of writings and musings of activists and campaigners, Words of Weed and Wisdom, that is available on Amazon for £10 and a penny, and it actually has free post and packaging at that price. And I think it was £3.36 of every purchase will be donated to the WTU campaign. So I would encourage you, shamelessly, to pop over to Amazon and purchase a copy of Words of Weed and Wisdom by Alan Buffrey et al. And get yourself a piece of WTU prohibition history. If we're successful, it will be a part of history. So I hope very much that you'll take the opportunity to support the cause and get yourself a little bit of musings to take home and read, or give as a gift, or whatever may take your fancy. So that was Words of Weed and Wisdom on Amazon. Please have a look. I'm just trying to think what else I might need to update about. The merchandise fund will be hopefully starting again towards the end of September. We haven't got a fixed date as yet. I have received a donation now. Anyone that has given a donation to the WTU through our website, the PayPal donate button on the merchandise page, if you visit the merchandise page, it gives the full details of how we work. Somebody actually donated into there, I'm not going to mention names, and they asked for this donation to be used specifically to get some face masks and face scarves made up with the WTU logo, because they feel that they would like them. It turns out now this logo is available in our files tab. You'd have to search down, but it is there. So anybody that wanted to get their own t-shirt or whatever made for themselves are welcome to. Now that's emphasis for themselves. These goods cannot be for sale. WTU merchandise is not ever for sale. It's always given away. It's funded by the community and given away to the community. So if ever you see WTU anything with a fixed price tag, I need to know, because that there is not correct. It's probably fraud. So we'll get that going as soon as we can. I am starting to have a look at other things like enamel badges and things like that. We'll get that going again as soon as possible. I'm just racking my brain to think of anything else that can be thought of, what we need to. I think that's it. Testimonials, solutions, coffee mornings, case bundles passed. If you have any questions at all, please just message me, call me, whatever. Let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I think that's everything. I'm going to keep on going, doing what I can. Right, in that case, before I head off, actually, let me just have a quick scroll through for questions. Interesting here about the incompatibility of the Misuse of Drugs Act. Someone said at the time in the 1970s, a minister was quoted, they would risk votes if they included tobacco and alcohol in the Misuse of Drugs Act, thereby rendering the wording of the spirit of the Act as contradictory. Interesting stuff. Okay, folks, lots of love. Keep smiling, keep your hand of mine flowing. And keep in touch. Speak soon. Take care.